Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, back with some more Warpforge for you, and today, continuing on with the series, I am going to be bringing you my top 10 Orkz cards in the game. So what we're doing is looking at the 40 slot, and we're looking across all factions. And thing to quickly remember about this is, obviously this is just my opinion, so let me know obviously in chat what your top 10 are, or if there are any of mine that you kind of don't agree with. Yeah, so let's jump on in. So in 10th place, and I was struggling actually for the 10th spot because I was kind of thinking, I really like the chaplain, and it was kind of going to go between the chaplain and ultimately one other, which I ended up going with, which was the Scorpec Destroyer. Now I think that I picked the Destroyer in the end because I just feel like this card has a more immediate impact on the game. The thing about the Scorpec is that makes it a really great card is obviously a 5 melee attack for 4 energy is really good. It usually means that at that stage in the game it can pretty much take out anything in the game that isn't a flyer. Obviously the big Achilles heel is that it only has 0 range attack, so therefore it is useless at taking out flyers. But anything that isn't a flyer, it's a really solid removal. You get to bring it on, you get to choose to use the melee attack, obviously with it being a flanker, which is really cool. In addition, the recent change to the Destroyer ability means that you've got a little bit more flexibility if it does survive a turn in obviously what it attacks. And of course the very big one is having Remnant, so you can bring this on, you can attack a big unit for example, it can die and then resurrect it, it can attack again in the same turn, giving you essentially 10 damage in one turn, which is super powerful. Yeah, so the Scorpec Destroyer is one of those cards where it comes on, it does immediate damage, and your opponent really has to get rid of the Remnant because otherwise they're facing the threat of another flanker immediately. Very strong card. So in 9th place, I'm actually going to go to the Sisters of Battle and pick one of our new cards, which is the Cleansing Flames. Early on, this is a really good AoE, dealing 3 damage to essentially 3 units, one of which can be the Lord, but it doesn't have to be. I just think this is great value. Well known that Scorch Assault was played for a long time in Orkz, which is a similar card, but that does 2 to 4 damage. I much prefer having the consistency of just knowing that it's 3 damage. Obviously Scorcher has a higher ceiling because it could do 4, but I think just knowing what you're getting and doing 3 across all 3 bodies is just super powerful. It's also a really great one for helping you to deal with stealth units, flyers, yeah, just a lot of like awkward board states. And of course, you can, if the enemy has one unit that has like slightly higher health, just with your Warlord's attack, that could be up to 5 damage than you could do on one unit. So Cleansing Flames is overall just a really solid, strong 4-drop. Alright, so next up, in 8th place, I'm actually going to go with the Chosen. Now, Chaos have a lot of good 4-drops to be fair, and I sometimes go back and forth on sort of which I think is the best and which is my favourite. And when I was really thinking about this list, I went with the Chosen as the 8th one because I feel like this card just gives you, as a player, a lot more control, a lot of flexibility. On rally, you can kind of choose the Dark Pact, so you know this card can be what you need it to be. Do you need a Vanguard to block your opponent? No problem. Play the Chosen. Give it the Dark Pact of Blood, and it will have +2 melee attack at 6, and it will have Vanguard. You know, are you playing against something with hard removal? You can give it the Dark Pact of Resilience, get +2 to its health and camouflage, so it can't be targeted. Do you expect to play for several turns with it? You could give it the Resilience so that it gets the ability to regenerate. So that it's just got really, or do you just want raw stats, right, with +2 to melee and +2 to range? So the thing with the Chosen, it really is just a really decent started unit to start with, right, with all the 4s, knowing that whichever pack that you give it, you are going to improve on those stats anyway. So I just think that it's a really solid card. It can't be cheated. and it trades into anything else around that time of the game. Really, really good card, and that's my 8th slot. So in number 7, we are going to go to the Aeldari, and I'm going to talk about the Eldritch Storm. Now, some people don't like the Eldritch Storm that much because of they don't like this sort of fact that it's random. I actually think this is a really powerful card because, well, a few reasons. One is that you only need 2 Spirit Stones to get its effect, where it basically does 2 storms. And that has a few impacts on the game. Obviously, if you do 1 storm and then another, that means you can, for example, clear things like shields. It means if you do roll low and you only roll a 1 to 3 damage, you're going to trigger the storm again. So that unit that got 1 the first time might get a 3 the second time, right? So you are averaging like 4 damage, which is really, really powerful. For 4 energy, doing 4 damage to every single unit is insanely good. And obviously the top end, the power ceiling there is 6 damage, which is beyond busted when it comes to the value. So Eldritch Storm, just a really super powerful board clear. Now, it really helps you against like things like Rock Invasion, or any sort of good go-wide strategy. The Tau Drones, for example. The Eldritch Storm is just a really great equalizer. Superb AoE, one of the best in the game. So in 6th place, I am going to go for the 6th 4-drop is going to be the Stealth Battlesuit. Just a really solidly statted, good value package at the 4-drop. It's super reliable. Pretty much any Tau build that you can make now, I think the Stealth Battlesuit should be in it. It's just too good to leave at home. The fact that it's coming on with stealth puts you in control of the trade, which means you're going to get to attack with the 5 range attack, and obviously having the ability to play a homing beacon, which gives you a crisis suit with flank, is pretty good for 4 energy. This is good value. This isn't a card that you would have in your hand, so it can help you extend your hand, stop you needing to rely on things like card draw, for example. So the homing beacon isn't always the right option the very next turn, but it is a super it's a super powerful and, like I say, really good value package of a card. Can't really go wrong with the Stealth Battlesuit. It's really great for keeping you in the game in that kind of like mid game range. Okay, so on to the top 5. So in 5th place for me, I'm actually going to go with a legendary card for the Aeldari, which is Nadu Fireheart, because you know, the worst case scenario is on 4 energy, this guy comes on as a flying flanker and just has up to 5 melee damage. Because it's a flyer, it can kill other flyers and use melee to trade, which is often a very powerful way of tricking the trade against flyers. So it's very favourable. Now, it only has 4 health, so it can die, but if you can attack a unit and kind of not die, then this special strike ability here, which is giving vulnerable to adjacent troops this turn, is just insanely powerful. So for example, you might put a unit down in stealth, very next turn you bring Nadu on, next to that unit, Nadu Fireheart attacks and gives invulnerable to that unit. And that's just incredibly powerful. It can be a really powerful swing turn. So this guy has a superb, even just its kind of, like I say, its floor, its baseline is really good because it's a strong flanker. And its power ceiling, giving invulnerable to units, is just off the chart. So this is my number 5, super powerful card. In 4th place, I'm sticking with the Aeldari. There's quite a few good 4-drops in Aeldari. We've already had the Eldritch Storm, we've had Fireheart. We could easily have Dance of Death, but I'm actually going with the Howling Banshee. This is one of my favourite cards in the game. I really do love the Howling Banshee. It's just a great package. It impacts the game immediately, and it impacts multiple things, like being able to stun an enemy, like the enemy Warlord, for example, and then basically with the flank ability, trade with your 4 melee attack and kill a unit. And even if you kill yourself, you've kind of got the stone that you can collect as well. Sometimes you kill a unit and don't die, and then they have to put resource into killing you the next turn, and then you get your stone. So I just feel like the overall impact of the Howling Banshee is superb. It works well at all stages of the game as well. So if you're going into the late game, obviously you can stun really big units and use it that way. It's just a fantastic card and definitely one of my favourite cards to play. When I've got this card in hand as an Aeldari player, I always feel quite calm, like knowing that I've got this to play. So yeah, for me this is like right up there, and it's my number 4 on the list. All right, so up to the top 3. So in third place on the 4 drops, I'm actually going with No Mucking About. And honestly, guys, No Mucking About, it's just a really solid removal, isn't it? Like, it looks like it's a downside of Destroy Random True, but we all know that this is a fantastic ability because we don't need to target you. So it plays around camouflage, it plays around stealth. It's just a fantastic, No Mucking About is a really good name for it because it just does exactly what it says on the tin. You just, whatever it is, it's just going to die. The only thing that can stand up to it is something that has invulnerable. But there aren't many things in the game that do that, and this is just a super reliable and importantly super cheap removal. So other cards in the game do allow us to have a similar effect and remove things, but you pay a lot more for it. If you think about the Necron one costing 7 energy, you've not actually, even though you might have killed a powerful card with that, you often haven't really gained anything in terms of tempo, and your opponent can just deploy something proactively and take the board again. Whereas No Mucking About being so cheap, it kind of means that you can just use this to remove a decent unit and then still develop something on the board. So it really is a very, very powerful hard removal. Alright, sticking with the Orkz actually, for number 2 on the list is one of the legendary cards, the Ork Knob. Now the Ork Knob is super high on my list because, well, first of all, for 4 energy, what you've got is a well-statted flanker, right? You've got the 4/4, you've got the, so it can't be cheated, you've got the 5 health. Again, I always look for that kind of 1 extra health over the cost. He can come on as a flanker and he can kill a unit often and still be alive, meaning that your opponent has to then, put some resource into attacking the Ork Knob. If that's the War Boss, that's 4 damage they're taking to face. If it's another troop, you're often 2 for 1 in. So just the fact that he's a flanker makes him a really, really powerful unit with those stats. But obviously he has this fantastic ability, which is friendly troops have flank. And that is just so powerful in the Orks, because that just allows you to do all sorts of things, right? Like, even playing a Gretchen mob after this means it has 3 different units that can also attack. You can set up big turns, big combos, do things like, for example, play this and Hard Shell on turn 11 to let your big legendary come on and benefit from flank. So there's just at almost any point in the game you can combo this with something to have a pretty powerful effect. For example, on E8 you could got 2 Storm Boys, obviously they could come on with this and they could attack. It's just a really, really solid and really important card. The reason of doing these top 10 guys is to help you to think about, what cards to craft, what order to collect cards. So you're an Ork player and you're thinking about legendary cards, you really can't go wrong with the Ork Knob. I think the only one I'd probably put over the Ork Knob is Makari, and then I think the Ork Knob would be the second legendary I would craft, should I say, with Orks. Okay, so what is going to be number 1? What can possibly beat that? Well, there is a 4-drop in this game that is, for the longest time, has been beyond broken. And yes, you guessed it right, my friends, is the Ravenous Hunter. Now this card, believe it or not, has actually just quite recently gone through a little bit of a nerf. It used to give +1 melee attack as well as Bloodthirst. So for those who don't know, when it says a friendly unit this turn, a friendly unit includes your Warlord. So what we're looking to do here is obviously play this on a Synapse creature. Even something like dropping a Broodlord, which is in stealth, and then playing this on the Broodlord next turn, who's sat next to like Swarmlord, for example. Just means you've got an amazing finisher. It gives the Tyranids really, really good reach. It allows 2 to 3 units to basically attack twice in 1 turn. Combine this with something like Adrenal Surge or Swarmlord's Warlord talent, giving bonuses to melee and range damage, and with Bloodthirst attacking twice with 3 units, it really does mean that you can often finish games with your enemy warlord sitting there on 20, sometimes even 30 health. It's got a reach like very few other finishers in the game, and the Tyranids have good opportunity and access to things like stealth, so they can really set this up. It's still a card that feels broken and not just game winning, but sometimes game breaking. So the Ravenous Hunter, for me, even though it's in a pack, even though it's as I say, you've seen in this video, it's competing with some other very good 4-drops and very powerful 4-drops. For me, this is number one of my top 10 for the 4-drops. So there you have it, guys. Like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there are any you think I've missed, or anything that I've said there that you disagree with slightly. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys.